There are two main types of control system available. DC, which is direct current, and commonly referred to as an analog system, and uses a 12-volt DC controller to supply power to the track, and DCC, which stands for Digital Command Control, which provides a constant 16-volt alternating current, or AC, to the track, and sends electrical signals to a small computer chip called a decoder, which is installed inside a locomotive, and decides how much current the motor should receive, and how fast the train should go. Keeping the wiring neat and tidy helps when it comes to locating faults or making changes, and sticking to a rigid color code makes it much easier to work out which wire does what and where it goes. Making sketches of the wiring, and noting where the wires go and what they do is a good practice, and markers underneath the baseboard are also good prompts. Ideally, you should number the end of each wire with a label so that if they are ever disconnected, either by design or accident, you can work out where they should go. When it comes to choosing the correct wire for your layout, the best option is multicore wire, which has several strands of copper wire inside plastic insulation. For the feeder wire, or bus wire as it's generally known, for a DC layout, 24 0.2 mm is used, or 32 0.2 mm for larger layouts, and 7 0.2 mm wire for droppers and shorter feeds. The first number is the number of strands of wire in the protective plastic sleeve, and the measurement is the thickness of the wire. It's cheaper in the long run to buy the feeder wires in 100-meter reels rather than in short lengths. You'll be surprised how much you'll use, and to have more wire available for future development. For an analog layout, legend dictates that the outer main line on a double-track circuit is always wired with positive red wire to the outer rail and the negative black wire to the inner, while the inner circuit is wired with a yellow wire for the positive to the outer rail and a negative blue wire for the inner. Further to this, green and orange are used in the same fashion for point motor power feeds, with white for the common return feed. You've also probably come across the expression, your layout, your rules, but when it comes to wiring, whichever color pattern you use, be consistent, or you could be faced with huge problems later on, especially if you've sliced in an odd color wire here and there to bridge gaps or make extensions. For the Mabel end layout, I've used the red and black option for 3 bus wires and their associated droppers. These are for the up and down main lines, and for a branch line. There is a 4th bus wire yet to add, on which a DMU will operate on an automated shuttle system, but this will follow a different color pattern. When it comes to wiring turnouts and points, there are 2 types, insole frog and electro frog points. Insole frog points have a short plastic insulated section at the levier of the frog which simplifies them electrically as they require no additional wiring to create a loop, but a downfall is because they have this insulated section, where there is no power. Short wheelbase locomotives are more prone to stalling in the middle section of the point. Electro frog points, on the other hand, are live throughout and remove the chance of such locomotive stalling, but they need a little more planning when it comes to electrical feeds, as a loop will require insulated rail joiners, which are available as nylon fish plates, in position along its length to avoid a short circuit. When it comes to adding lights to buildings, street lamps, and other scenic accessories, it's a good plan to run a small feeder just like with your track buses and droppers, but these usually don't require anything like the amperage demand of the trains themselves. It's also a good idea to run these accessories off of a separate power supply, which makes troubleshooting much easier, and conserves the train's power supply for their needs. Many controllers have additional outlets which can be used for such accessories, but may need voltage regulators added. I'll be going into more detail about that in a future episode. The underside of the baseboard can very quickly start to look like a rat's nest of wires, not least because there will be multiple switches and lead-offs to point motors, etc. So if you can get into the practice of tidying them up by using clips or zip ties to hold them in place under the baseboard as you go along, so much the better. Adding lighting to a layout adds another dimension of realism, and can be done by using bulbs or LEDs. In either case, the most effective way is to wire the lights in parallel, because if one bulb fails, the rest stay on, as current is still flowing along the wire. One of the benefits of LEDs over grain of wheat bulbs is that they remain cold, having no filament that heats up. The 3mm LEDs work off only 1.2 volts, so if you are using a 12-volt DC system, you must put a resistor on the positive wire in a circuit. A 1 kilo-ohm resistor is perfect for this, and when soldering it into place, it goes onto the anode, the longer leg, which is the positive. The shorter leg is the cathode, the negative. I have put more details about the voltages for the different colors of LEDs and the wiring required on the home page. Miniature surface-mounted strips of LEDs are often used for interiors, which have bright and warm light options, and come with resistors already soldered to the boards. Multipacks and reels are available, and they are marked with a black line and a scissors mark at the cut position, where they can be cut to suit your purpose, which in the case of 12 volts, occurs after every 3 LEDs. Grain of wheat bulbs will light up no matter which way round you connect the terminals, but each bulb has to be insulated with sleeves to prevent any shorts occurring. They are available in strings, much like the lights for Christmas trees, making them ideal for interior lighting, and are generally warmer than LEDs, which can be a bit harsh on the eyes. However, being filament-based bulbs, they can generate a lot of heat, to the point of scorching card and paper, or even melting some plastics if care is not taken. I hope this part has helped you, or has at least answered some of your questions. The wiring is regarded by many as the most worrying part of the hobby, but it's only as complicated as you choose it to be, and as your confidence grows, it can actually become a fascinating part of the hobby in itself. The most dangerous thing you'll be using is probably your soldering iron, so do your soldering on the workbench whenever possible, and not under the layout or in situ unless it's unavoidable. Typically, soldering is done in the range of 300 to 400 degrees Celsius, which is 572 to 752 degrees Fahrenheit. It's also important to work in a well-ventilated area and take safety precautions when soldering, such as using safety glasses and ensuring that the soldering iron is properly grounded. If you've never used a soldering iron before, I'll be going over it in the next episode, which is about turnouts and points. As always, please get back to me with any comments or advice from your own experiences. We're all on a learning curve. Thank you for watching.